guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to Form Workflow Plus Support. So today I'm very excited to share with you a new feature that we've added on the Form Workflow Plus add-on. Great news for workflow creators, you are now able to create parallel steps on your approval steps list. So this is very useful if your workflow is set up to be branched into different reviewers from different departments. Let's jump right into it. This is your active worksheet. So let's say this is a purchase order request and we're going to start activating your workflow. So first things first, you have to click that add-ons menu and then look for Form Workflow Plus add-on and then start. You'll notice that the sidebar will appear on the right part of the page. We'll set it up by clicking this green button up here. And all we have to do is to fill out the information needed from the basic setup page. So from this part, notice that we're going to be collecting the responses from the Form Responses 1 tab. You'll see that from here. And of course, if you want to select a requester's email column, you can indicate that here as well. So let me just choose email address so that the requester will get notified as well about the status of the request. And of course, the main part is here on this edit tab. We're inside the approval steps list page, so this is where you nominate the number of steps needed for your workflow, and of course this is where you also nominate the email addresses of the reviewers for those particular steps. So if you will be needing more than one step, this is where you're going to add it from. And if you require those particular steps to have parallel steps, then this is also the place where we're going to do it. Let's go and set up your steps. So by default, you're already given one step, and for the reviewer, it's automatically set to the workflow creator's email address. So notice here inside the conditional approval, this is the email address of the workflow creator. So if you want to change it, you just have to click the pencil icon here and change it from here by clicking this X button and entering the email address here. So let's say I'm changing it to absolutely temporary one at gmail.com. I'll click that save button right there, and notice that the step number 1 is already changed to absolutely temporary one at gmail.com as its reviewer. So let me just go back to the approval steps list. Let's go ahead and add another step. So I'll do that by clicking this plus button here on the lower right side, and it will ask me to designate a name for that. Let's say I'm naming it clearing. Notice that you'll be routed to the conditional approvals page after you've added a step. This is where you're going to modify the reviewers or set up conditions if needed. So let's say for this particular step, I'll leave hannah@wizzy.io as the reviewer for step number 2. So I'll go back to the step lists. Let's go ahead and add a final step by clicking that plus button right there. I'll name it final, add. And notice it will route me again to the conditional approvals page. And for this particular part, I want the reviewer to be set to marco@wizzy.io. Don't forget to hit that enter key and save button. There you go. So let's go back to the approval steps list, and we've successfully set up a 3-step process for your workflow. Let's say you decide that step number 1 has to go through different reviewers before it reaches to clearing, which is your step number 2. So you find the need to add a parallel steps for your step number 1. All you have to do is to click the plus icon on that particular step. It's found on the right side right here, and it will ask you to designate a name for that particular step. Let's say I'm naming it finance. There you go. If you notice, step 1.1 is now named finance, and whatever conditions or reviewers you've set up initially for step number 1 will be transferred to step 1.1. So for this particular example, I want to keep it that way as how I set it up earlier, and I'll add another parallel steps which will go through someone else. So I'll click this plus icon again, and I'll name it as audit. So notice that I'm already in step 1.2 on the conditional approvals page, and it will ask me to set up the conditions and set up the reviewers as well. So let's say for this particular step, I want absolutely temporary to do the review. Don't forget to hit that enter key and click save. Okay, so I've successfully nominated absolutely temporary 2 at gmail.com as the reviewer for step 1.2. Now, if you go back to your steps list or your approval steps list, you'll notice that we've successfully added the parallel steps for your step number 1. This means that step number 1 needs to go through 2 different sections before it moves to step number 2. Another thing to remember is that currently the workflow behaves wherein both the reviewers or both the steps should be giving a positive response before it moves to the next step. If one out of the 2 gives a negative response, then the workflow stops. Got it? There you go. It's quick and easy to set up parallel steps with Form Workflow Plus. Hopefully this tutorial has been helpful for you and it was able to walk you through the steps as smoothly as possible. If you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to your support. We'll be ready to help. Please don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. Of course, please don't forget to click that subscribe button and that bell button to keep you notified if we have new content for you. And of course, you can reach us through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And it has been my pleasure to assist you today. Catch you again next time. Bye!